it's Nate, and today I am doing the classic Angie by the Rolling Stones. I've gotten a lot of requests for this one. Let me say quickly what this tutorial is not. It's not a note-by-note breakdown of the entire virtuosic, meandering piano part played by the great Nicky Hopkins. I'm going to start with an easy but great sounding piano accompaniment that factors in both the piano and the acoustic guitar. Then I will give a more detailed tutorial of the iconic opening riff, the piano solo, and some general ways to improvise and spice up the piano part. There's a lot of room to play in this one. Let's jump in. Alright, so first off, I recommend you get the chords and lyrics chart. There's a link down in the description, and that's going to help you follow along and see where the chords and lyrics line up with each other. And we'll start out with the main chord progression. This is the underlying chord progression of the intro as well as the verses. So here it is. We've got an A minor, so A, C, and E. This is middle C here, and I'm using my second finger here on this A bass note, an octave lower. Next, we've got this E7, so coming down to low E here in my left hand, and then E, G sharp, B, and D. If you have trouble stretching that, you could just do the top three notes. We're also going to need a G. Now, when we go to this G, I'm gonna tuck my thumb in, like that, G, B, D, just root position G major chord. We're also gonna need an F sus4, so that's gonna be F, B flat, or A sharp, as it probably says, and C. And then it's gonna resolve down to F, F, A, C. And then the only other chord we're gonna need here is a C major. And this is an inversion of a root position C. So E, G with my second finger, middle C there, and a very low C in my left hand on the fifth finger. Just gonna slowly step through that again before we go deeper on the rhythm. So A minor, E7, tuck thumb in, G, F sus4, F, another F, C. Now we're in 4/4 time, so each of these measures gets 4 counts, and we're thinking a really slow 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And right off the bat, we can do some quarter notes in the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. So here's where things get interesting. This measure starts with 2 counts of the G. That little dash is to represent beat 2 there. 1, 2. But for this F sus4 to F, we actually need to be thinking in eighth notes. So dividing the beat in half, thinking 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And we're gonna hit the F sus4 on beat 3 and then immediately go down to the F on the and after 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And you don't have to play anything on the 4 and. And then this last measure is a little tricky as well. It's not perfectly divided between the F and C. We've got the F, 2, and 3, 4. So on the and after 2, we switch to that C rather than beat 3. So again, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. You can hit that C again on beat 4 there. Now there's a little bit more we can do with that moment, but first let's just move forward into the first verse. So I'm going to show you the full intro later, but you can just do what we just did, just one time through the progression for a simple intro, and then we would be in the first verse. And the verses is the same thing, but just twice. So it'd be Angie, Angie, when will those clouds all disappear? Angie, Angie, where will it lead us from here? Okay, so let's add in the, which makes it a little trickier. You can consider it optional. This just pertains to the last measure here. Let's look at the left hand first. So we hit the F on beat 1, but then just on every eighth note, you can step down to C. And then if you do that, you hit the C on that and after 2 we were talking about. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. In the meantime, in the right hand, we've just hit this F major chord here, and we want to harmonize that stepping down melody starting on the A. It's going to be A, G, F, and E. Now the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to hit the full chord, and then as I step down, I'm going to do my second finger on G. You can just kind of hold this C here. Now step with your first finger to the F, and then on that last beat, you can just jump your first finger out to land in that inverted C major chord we've been doing. And depending on if you're getting dramatic and into it, you can kind of hit everything as you go. So there's a few different ways you could play that. Angie, Angie, when will those clouds all disappear? Just to give it a little bit more rhythm, you can do 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you could hit the left hand on beat 4 there. In a second, we can move on and look at the chorus, but first I'm just gonna slowly play through that first verse one more time, and I'm gonna add just a little bit more rhythm in the left hand. You can always do some offbeat hits on the eighth notes, like 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and especially on the and after 2 and the and after 4. I'll be sprinkling those in throughout the song. 1, 2, 3, 4. Angie, Angie, when will those clouds all disappear? Angie, Angie, where will it lead us from here? With no lovin'. Okay, so now we're in the chorus. Here are the chords for that. Now for the first line here, I'm gonna take the right hand up an octave. All throughout, you could do the right hand up an octave. A lot of the piano that Nicky Hopkins played is up in these higher ranges, but I'm just been trying to hold it down a little lower like the acoustic guitar is, just makes the song feel grounded. But I do really like the chorus coming up the octave here. So we start with a G here, root position G, so I'm above middle C, G, B, D, and I'm moving my left hand up. I'm gonna put my fifth finger on the G there because we're gonna have to go a little higher here. So we've got G for a full measure. I might do a little bit more rocking back and forth on the eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and up to D minor just for 2 counts. So this is an inverted D minor. We've got A, D, and F coming up to my first finger on D here, and then right down to A minor. With no loving in our souls and no money in our coats. Okay, we've got a new inversion of C here. Gonna do G, C, and E, and I'm just tucking my first finger in a little bit to this bass C here. That's also for 2 counts before coming down to root position F, F, A, C, fifth finger here. So C, 2, F, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, and then this next line should be familiar. It's the same as the verse. It's just one time through that. Let me just play through that whole chorus. 1, 2, 3. With no loving in our souls and no money in our coats. You can't say we're satisfied, but Angie, Angie, you can't say we never tried. All right, cool. So that is most of what you need for this easier version of the song. After that chorus, we've got another verse, then another chorus, different lyrics, but the same as before. Then we've got an instrumental section, which I will show you the whole piano section in a little bit, but the underlying chord progression is just 2 times through. It's basically a verse without singing. Another chorus, another shorter instrumental. This is all on your chords and lyrics chart. You can just follow along. Then we're going to get to the 4th chorus, which is a little bit different. It looks like this. Maybe you could call this the bridge. The titling of sections in the song is a little bit arbitrary, but it starts out just like the other choruses, with no loving in our souls and no money in our coats. You can't say we're satisfied, but Angie, I still love you, baby. So it goes to the D minor and the A minor, just like we've done it before, but it does a whole measure of each, and it goes around on this 3 times, baby. So then again, everywhere I look, I see your eyes. And one more time, there ain't a woman that comes close to you. And then here, I think I'm going to go down the octave just to get some power out of this moment, because it's sort of a climax of the song. Come on, baby, dry your eyes. And then we are just going to hit what I'm calling the outro. It's like a verse. It's just the final 2 times through the main chord progression. But Angie, ain't it good to be alive? And then there's just one more time through. Angie, they can't say we never tried. You could even slow down a little bit at the end there. And then you can just let that chord ring out, and that is the end of the song. Real quick, if you are enjoying this video, hit subscribe. It really helps out the channel and allows me to keep making more videos like this. Okay, you could stop the video right here and just follow along on the chords and lyrics chart and play the chord accompaniment just like I showed you and do a full cover of the song, and it would sound great. But I'm now going to go through with some of the trickier details, starting with that iconic acoustic guitar intro. It's gonna sound like this. Okay, so to do this, we need to think in 16th notes. So we're dividing the beat in 4, thinking 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Here's the first part. I've got all the counts laid out there. The left hand is on the bottom, the right hand is on the top. And what isn't on this chart is just that first A, just kind of hits just a little bit below middle C and just sort of rings out. It's not really in time, just sort of announces that the song is going to start. But then on beat 1, where we start feeling the rhythm, we're going to hit this E here with our left hand, and then just the A minor chord on beat 1. I might want to do 1, 2, and 3, or 1, 2, and 4. Probably 1, 2, and 3, because in a minute we have to reach up to this G melody note. So that's going to be 1E and a 2E and a 3E. So left hand E and then G, E on a 3E. 1E and a 2E and a 3E. Notice I kind of strummed that first chord a little bit. Nice little touch. So 3E and a 4E and. Again, 3E and a 4E and. So notice that everything is falling on these notes that we've blocked out with the chords. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Okay. Next, we're going to come down all the way to here for this low E, and we're going to be sort of blocking out this E7 chord, but with the E on top here. So we've got E, and then we're just gonna step up and down. B, D, E, D, B. 1 E and a 2 E and a. Hitting this G sharp, the middle note of the chord, on the after 2. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3. On beat 3, we just hit all those 3 notes together. And then on beat 4, it just kind of hits that E again. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, 4. Okay. Next we have kind of a similar pattern, but the left hand's actually going to come up to this higher G here, and the notes the right hand's going to be stepping up and down are C, D, G, D, C, and then left hand again. 1 E and a 2 E and a. Okay. Here's the sus4 to regular F moment, but we're just going to do it with 2 notes, 1 in each hand. A sharp, A. That's 3 E and 4 E and so you can kind of imagine your right hand is in this F inversion shape. So again, that measure, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and okay, this last measure is a little bit of a doozy. We've got F, A, F on 1 E and. So every 16th note of the first 2.5 beats is going to be played on 1 E and, then all the way down to the bass C with the left hand, and this is all going to be left hand here. 2 E and. So on that and after 2, we hit that regular root position C major chord. 1 E and a 2 E and. Okay, just a little bit more here. The next note is just kind of subtle, optional, but we're gonna hit this E after on the and after 3. 3 E and then the last 4 16th notes, this little sort of walk down melody. B, D, C, G on 4 E and a. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. That would, of course, be setting you up to land in the A minor that starts the verse. I'm going to play through that intro slowly one more time. So don't forget that A to start it off, and then 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Cool. Then we would be in the verse. So what I think I'll do now is teach you some of the details that happen in that first verse of the song. Like I said, I'm not going to do all the fancy piano parts that happen throughout all the different verses and choruses, but if we just look at the first verse, it's probably the most recognizable before the rest of the band has kicked in, and it just will give you some ideas of what you can do in the other verses as well. But this is totally optional. He does a lot of what I call in my piano chord breakthroughs course the sus2 fill, where you just on the downbeat hit the second finger. So if it's an A minor chord, that would be the B, then immediately step up to the third, the C here, and then down to the root. That would be on 16th notes. 1 E and 2 E and. And right off the bat he goes, Angie. So on beat 1, you do that, hit again, and then on beat 3, do the same thing up an octave higher. Angie. So on beat 4 this time of the E, you can do the same thing. It would be an F sharp that you hit. Okay. Then we go up to the G. And actually, it's an octave higher if you're going to do these details. He hits that G. On beat 2 does a sus2, and it doesn't really sound like it's the full fill. It's just the sus2. and then that, and then from there, you can do that. So again, all that would be Angie, Angie, when will those clouds all disappear? And in general, throughout the song, in any of the sections, there's so much space with this slow 4/4 pulse that you could just, anytime you want, like hop up and sometimes he goes all the way up there. Just whenever you're feeling it, on any of the counts and on any of those, you could do that sus2 fill. There's also a lot of room for just little arpeggios. If you're on the A minor, you can do 8th notes or 16th notes. 1, 2, and a 3, and 4E, and anything like that. You can just feel free to improvise. In the chorus, one thing that happens a lot is stepping up in thirds. 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 3 and 5. Especially on the A minor. Loving in our souls, and no money in our coats. That sounds really nice. 3E and a 4E, and you can do it on that G as well. But let's talk about that first instrumental section, the piano solo, because it's got a really recognizable piano part. But so that instrumental is 2 times through that main progression. And here's the deal. You can just take that section of the song and do the main progression with any of the like improvising details I've already showed you. If you're gonna do the full piano solo, I'm gonna assume you're a little bit more advanced, and I'm gonna go a little bit quick here just because I don't want this video to be too long. For now, I will just do roots in the left hand, and this is a lot of stepping around in 6ths in the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for the A minor, it starts on the E and the C. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E, and so just stepping down, and on that middle one you do 2. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E, and now we go to the E, and we're gonna do essentially the same thing, but it's gonna start from D and B. And when you step down, you got to do a G sharp there so that it matches that E major chord. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E, and when you get to G, it does something like this. Just stepping up and back down. You can harmonize it if you want. 1E and a 2E and a, I love this part, 3E and so just from that A sharp down A on the 16th note, 3E and 4E, and then for the walk down, they kind of invert it and do 6 with the F being the top note, A is the bottom. Sounds really nice. And by the way, you can throw that in for the right hand for that section throughout the song, and it sounds really cool. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a dun dun. There's just this little flourish there at the end before it loops around. So here's what we got so far. Then goes around again. You could totally do that same thing twice. The second time, it's a little bit more complicated, and it sounds like this. So we're still going to be jumping around in these 6. 1E and a 2E and so we go back and forth from that first position. 1E and a 2E and jumping down to C and A before coming down here on just A fifths, A and E. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2. So same idea here, but it's a little trickier with the G sharps in there. So starting on the D and B, back and forth, jump down to B and G sharp, and then G sharp and E. Really cool sound there. And then from there, You can basically do the same thing. He does something like a little more fancy there. And then, oh, and then it would be going into the third chorus. Of course, on the recording, in addition to the bass and the piano solo, there's also the rhythm guitar and the drums. It sounds a little empty here without the chord. So what I'm gonna do is actually gonna do this nice arpeggio in the left hand for this whole solo section, where I just do root, fifth, octave, fifth, root, fifth, octave, fifth, on eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And so I'm gonna anticipate that last one so that it matches up with the right hand. Here's how it's all gonna sound together. I'll do it a little slow. Cool. There is a second instrumental section that's just one time through the whole progression. Here's what I'll say. A lot of the tricks that we've been talking about and that Nicky Hopkins is using throughout this piano track are things that I teach in my course, Piano Chord Breakthroughs. Stuff like the fills, but also jumping around in inversions, which we haven't really gotten into in this video, making different rhythms and melodies. And getting those rhythms into your fingertips to be able to improvise with them. That is the goal of that course. And I'm just gonna kind of let loose with those tricks in my version for that instrumental section. And if you are interested in getting better at this type of playing, check out the course. There's a link down in the description. But that is everything. Thank you for sticking with me. I will now play a full cover so you can see how all of these parts we've been talking about fit together. And I'm gonna be doing all the fancy details that we talked about in the second half of the video, but just a reminder, you can keep it as simple as you need. If you enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and click the bell so you won't miss any videos like this one. Okay, here's my version of Angie. When A.